everybody. Welcome to another episode of PitchUs. We are joined today by Sat with Maya AI. As always, I have my esteemed colleague, Jeff Erickson. My name is Tim Cooley. I'm the author of the Pitch Deck book. Jeff, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, Jeff Erickson. I'm with Forecaster, the online financial modeling company. It makes financial modeling easy for startup founders. So excited to have Sat join us today and learn a little bit about Maya AI.
Yes, guys, we're here to really help you guys learn to pitch better. Less than 1% of companies get funded, and a lot of that has to do with companies not being able to present their opportunity to investors the way that investors want to hear. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. So Sat, please share your screen and pitch us.
All right, we'll hop right into it. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Jeff, for the opportunity. Great to be here. Great to present in front of you guys. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And to confirm, because I can't see you guys anymore, can you see me?
We can see it. Yep.
All right, rocking and rolling. So we'll just hop right in. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sat Ramphal. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Maya AI. And what we're building, we're essentially building a digital human for market research and strategy. We are a robotics SaaS company. And so the problem that we're solving is that the market dictates what direction companies should take to essentially price their products. Today, the market is moving so crazily fast due to inflation, due to COVID, due to all of these different external influences. It's just the data just can't keep up. Humans can't keep up. Researchers, they can't answer why that piece of market data has changed in proper timing to be able to react on that data change with proper value. They're spending most of their time just aggregating different sets of data and filtering out garbage rather than building strategic insights from this market data. And since the market data itself in the world is growing exponentially day by day, companies are forcing themselves to staff up researchers. And essentially, it's not a scalable model for the company. And so these researchers, what they do is they do a manual driven way on how to perform market research and develop inferences and insights from it. The tools that they currently use today is like Google as the biggest one to perform market research. You have Gartner, Statista, Forrester, IDC. You have government regulations. All of these different sources of market data, market research data, are the tools that these researchers are using in order to build inferences, in order to stay up in the market, in order to get an understanding of what's happening in the world. And it's a huge, huge cost. In fact, it's costing companies around $5 million a year just between labor, between missed opportunities, and between the tools that they need involved just to be able to keep up with that. Again, they're spending so much of their time on the cost, aggregating the market data and then analyzing it. And the thing is while they're analyzing that market data, the humans, it takes on average about 18 hours just to analyze a piece of data. In that timing of analyzing, there's more moving data that's happening in the interim that could have more value than that piece of data that they're analyzing for that company to use. And so essentially that's huge missed opportunities that the companies are receiving there. And so essentially our solution is pretty simple and straightforward. And her name is Maya. And what Maya is essentially is, again, she's a digital human for market research and strategy. What she does is she looks at hundreds of different data points at the same time to optimize pricing in real time. She's looking at commodities. She's looking at competitor pricing pages. She's looking at cultural relevancy. She's looking at the labor market. She's looking at trends, publications, government regulations on a matrix to be able to understand and come up with inferences on how you should price your product. And essentially, at the roots, when a piece of data has changed in the market, right, our engine, what it does is it answers what influences cause that piece of data to change, how is it related to you as the organization, and then what action can you take to pretty much catapult your efforts from that piece of data change in the market. And so over the past 60 days, our traction has been pretty interesting. After launching about 40 months, after launching about 4 months ago, 40 months is wild. So after launching about 60 days ago, we were able to double our MRR. We've been able to secure 8 pilots with brands such as T-Mobile, L'Oreal, Kohl's, Johnson & Johnson, resulting in 190 deployed strategies, 190 price optimized strategies deployed. And we've been able to increase their data team productivity by 30% by removing a ton of manual research on the actual researchers. And we're on track to hit our revenue goal by the end of this year. And how it typically, what does it look like in a typical use case? And so a company like T-Mobile that we've been talking to recently, their focus is to really optimize product pricing to increase revenue. And so, they had a huge pain point of trying to assess the data from the war between Russia and Ukraine to be able to assess their sales and price it properly. Well, Maya took in all of that unstructured, raw cultural data and built her own synthetic strategic insights from that. And that was resulting into able to have their team productivity increased by 30%, if you will. And so a little bit of our technology is really cool, guys. Essentially what we're creating is memories for machines, actual human-like memories and their neural networks for machines. It's what we're currently patenting right now, what we call long-term, short-term, and working memories. Today, data is stored on a linear level. We created a new way how to store data on what we call a 7-sided matrix that pretty much answers that black box method of the who, what, where, when, why method of a data string change. And so we power that using quantum computing at a 20% capacity scale, which we're currently patenting. One of the only companies in the world. It's been pretty cool that we landed on that innovative tech that we created. Our technology is a no-code system, which requires no SQL or no tech maintenance on the models of our AI. Since it's a no-code system, we're able to sit right on top of an existing data stack inside of a company, like a Databricks or a Snowflake. And then that way, foundationally, Maya's able to learn from that data and then foundationally understand how to bring in the market data from the outside world. We also really focus on the data consumer, on who's using our product. And so Maya is a product that you can have a full conversation with. How we're on this Zoom call right now, I can also have Maya on here and have a full conversation with her and say things like, hey, Maya, how much sales did we make today? And she would respond with you made 10 sales today, Sat. And then I can ask a real strategic question like, I want to increase that by 10% in the next quarter. What's the best market for us to enter into? And then she'll be able to look at the market data and in nanoseconds come back with a really intelligent, full response on why we should enter that market and what are the components that relate to it. So our team is a really powerful team. We are a group of brothers, one older and one younger. I'm the middle child. We're a group of brothers that's right here in Tampa, Florida. I've been here my entire life, born and raised, never seen snow. This is my 5th company that I have current day. And so I have a little bit of an entrepreneurial experience over the past 10 years working inside of data-led products and AI-led companies. We've been able to bring a pretty powerful team from companies and universities like Yale, IBM, United Nations, Disney, Deloitte, Lockheed Martin, ABB. And so we have a really powerful group of individuals, including IBM's top 10 quantum guy as well. So we really have some powerful individuals that's backing us and empowering our technology. And how we sit in the competitive field against our other competitors. Well, first, this is like a twofold question. When you look at current artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies and tools, they only focus on company data and historical data. We don't. We focus on external market data and building the relationship to company data. And so that's a huge difference there between current AI tools. And then on the other side, there are market research tools like Google or a U.com or a PatSnap, but those require manual research, where our tool is a proactive tool. Maya actually does the research and comes back and builds the inferences from that, where you don't have to do that manual research on your own. Our go-to-market strategy, it's been a pretty interesting experience to see this. We spend $0 on marketing to date. We have built our go-to-market strategy on totally experiential things. We launched the world's first robo-hosted podcast where we bring on people to talk to Maya. It did so well that in February of next year, we're having one of the largest podcast guests to hop on our podcast, and we're hopping on theirs, just not at liberty to disclose them just yet. And it also doubled our sign-up rates of bringing on people into Maya. We are also sending Maya to a university, and we're also sending Maya to do other experiential things with individuals in the data community. And so we built up our awareness in the community of ML and AI by doing these experiential things at a very zero or low cost, which has been pretty amazing on our side. We've also deployed cold emails and LinkedIn sequencing, and on our cold emails they did so well we were able to pick up Legos and colds. And so that also goes to show how well we think about our relationship building as we come from our experiences of having call centers and marketing agencies and things like that. Why us? Why now? Well, if you look at what's happening in the world right now with inflation, supply shortage, talent shortage, all the other influences that's causing data in the world to move so rapidly, this is a must-have because humans just can't keep up with that amount of data. They can't build the inferences in good timing with all of these different components changing at the same time. And so that's why our technology has been really useful in this timing between that we've seen with COVID and the war and the labor shortage that we've been in. Why us? Why is our team the best team to do this? Well, we have experience of working together in previous startups. We faced this problem. We're great at building teams. We move fast, we test, we iterate, and we go to market. And our nonstop innovating has led to our groundbreaking technology that's currently being recognized by IBM. And so that's why we believe that we are a great fit to take on this mission. We are currently raising $500,000. That is 40% committed and raised already to reach the milestones of 30% NPS score with a product market fit by the end of this year. We want to be able to hit $1 million in ARR by June of next year and increase our daily active users to 80% by the ending of this year as well, where most of those funds are going to be going towards our technology stability and then our go-to-market strategy. It's been really interesting that we've been having parallel use cases without changing our technology inside of other use cases inside of retail as we target retail, but we've been having other use cases inside of banking, pharma, and healthcare. Like in pharma, we're helping them deep learn on their clinical trial documents against new government regulation for product launches and drug discovery. And so we can see the other use cases of our technology without changing it have been used to market with parallel approaches. And so it's been really interesting to see that other use cases. And so just some key takeaways of Maya and our team and us. What Maya is, again, Maya is a digital human for market research and strategy using voice. Our market size is a $4 billion market growing at a 13% annually year after year because it's a growing opportunity because we could see it right in front of our eyes. We're experiencing it. Inflation, labor shortage, material shortage, the war. And the industry that we're really going after and disrupting is retail. Thank you.
Awesome. Way to go.
Yeah, great job.
Is that?
Thank you.
That was really good. Wow, that was a lot to take in, and you did a great job. So we always start with things that we like. Jeff, please lead us off.
Okay, first off, Sat, you're awesome. You have the energy, and you kind of portray this confidence. So I love that. I think you're a great presenter, and I thought that was fantastic. So out of everything, you're just a great founder that I think people want to get behind. That's probably why you've closed 40% of your $500,000 round so far. So anyways, that was awesome. I think you built a great team around you, it looks like. I think your knowledge and that, I mean, the fact that you're a 5-time founder, regardless of how many of those have succeeded and you've learned a ton. And then I think that the other thing that came across, I mean, I really like the space you guys are in. I see the need, and this is where things are going. I think you've surrounded yourself with good people that get this stuff. So those were all super good positives and takeaways. The fact that you've raised already almost half of what you're asking is great, and I love that you're you're on track to hit that. Yeah, what was it, $250,000 in ARR this year. So I've got a couple of questions around that, but those were some really good points that I thought you hit on. Well, one other thing is, I mean, just mentioning, that, hey, we are the team. I loved how you went into the team. You're like, why are we the team? I mean, you're asking the question, and you're like, hey, well, let's just address it. This is why us, why now. You hit on all the key points throughout your presentation. So great job.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, honestly, great job. First of all, energy was awesome. Sometimes when people pitch, they're nervous. You're clearly not, which is great. So the energy was great. It's really easy to follow you. You're very articulate, which is great. One of the things that I want to point out from a structure point of view is that you started off in a market and then you showed us at the end other use cases, but the pitch was really around one market. And I preach that to people who have opportunities like yours where you could go and boil the ocean, but the deck is really focused. And so I commend you for doing that. That's great. Very few people do that. So great job on that. Overall, it was really fun just to listen to you talk about this. Clearly, you love it, and so I'd like to get into areas that we can make it just that much better. But overall, I can't. I'm just going to echo what Jeff said. All those things are right, and you guys are doing great. But I do want to get to the areas that can help you. So, Jeff, why don't you start us off here?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like we said, early stage at this point in the venture. I mean, investors are betting on you as a founder. You've got what it takes to be a great founder, and that comes across in your presentation. So, kudos. Some of the areas where I picked up, and I made a bunch of notes here, but one thing I kept noticing is, while Tim mentioned that you're easy to follow, sometimes your slides weren't. And so sometimes the slides were actually distracting. You had a lot going on. I mean, when your team slide came up, I was like, boom, bam, there's a lot going on there. And then some of the other slides, same thing, tons of logos everywhere. It was kind of this crazy chaos kind of going in. So that might be something to look at.
Jeff, can I jump in here real quick? This is something that I wanted to bring up as well. I think with what you guys are doing, you're raising $500,000 now. As soon as you close this round, you guys are going to go after 2 or 3 million or something. Like, that's just the reality. Spend the money today to hire someone to brand this deck. If half of what you're saying is true, you're going to have to go and get so just like Jeff said, it's time. Most people, and this is for our audience, you can get away with kind of being very generic, but there does come a point where branding really is intentional. Like, I know, like, Maya's face was blurred in some areas. Like, it's time to put the effort there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I agree.
Am I allowed to ask questions or like respond to some of the comments?
Yeah, go for it.
Just on one of the things that you mentioned, Jeff, with the logos and the busyness. So I typically have like a couple variations of the deck. And so I have like a speaking deck and a non-speaking deck. So what is your take on like a non-speaking deck? Should I have the logos and the flashiness there and then keep it simple on a non-speaking deck, have the focus on the actual presenter? I just love your thoughts there.
I mean, I'll give you my thoughts. I think logos can add a lot of value on both, honestly. And so it's just a matter of how you put it together. And so it's not, it's not all over the place. A good graphic designer will go to town and help you out a lot. So, I mean, I don't know. On a speaking deck, I think you can get away with more words. And that was something else I wanted to talk a little bit about, is that there was a lot of text on some of your slides, and the text got really small. I know Tim harps on this all the time, but your fonts were way too small on several slides. And again, where you were easy to follow, the deck wasn't always easy to follow.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll let Tim mention as well. I mean, any thoughts on, a read a reader view versus the presentation view? Because I agree with you that they should be different and simplified on the talking view, but where do you make that break?
Yeah, so what I would say there is if you do the speaking one well, you may not need two different versions because visually you can it can be done both ways. I'm in consulting now, and so like there's a lot more words there. Sometimes what you might need to do is instead of having two or three words where it says like AI machine learning, you might have to write out a full sentence. But typically, Jeff, if you get a deck, the visual one, you can almost pitch it to yourself if read properly. And so if you spend the time and choose the words right, then you might not need two versions, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of times I have seen it on the opposite view where sometimes it's so simplified that I get the deck in advance and I'm like, okay, this makes no sense. I would never touch this company. And then I actually see the presentation, they put it together and I was like, okay, actually I get this. I'm interested. Right. And so be careful with that a little bit because, it can kind of go both ways.
Got it.
So anyways, so back to kind of the small fonts and some of that. The one slide that I wanted to kind of hit on was your go-to-market strategy. You kind of had these 4 dots up top, and you were talking through it. And my eyes were like going all over the place, going, okay, where am I? Am I going this way? Oh, wait, I got to go down and read it. I think, again, a good graphic designer is going to help you to get that concise, put them into boxes and say, okay, this is what we're going. And then you can tell the story with your slides of where we're going from, piece to piece.
Yeah.
But I think your slides are not up to par in terms of where you are in your presentation, to tell you the truth.
Agreed.
So
let me add that I was
Yes.
looking in your slides for more information than what you were giving me. And I think that's what Jeff's getting at too, is like they just weren't like the slides are there to be read and I'm listening to you and you need to walk me through, but I'm looking for more information and like the slides didn't give me that. And I think that might be another thing Jeff's talking about.
That's interesting because, when I'm building a deck to date, I always built a deck where the deck was the leader and not me talking was the leading component.
Yeah.
And so that's really interesting because I've never thought of it like that. I always thought of it, let the deck lead me, not me lead the deck. And so having that perspective, I'll think about it.
Yeah, it's supplemental to you. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of like if you've ever watched a TED Talk, right? The slide behind them is just adding more context to the words that you're using.
Yeah.
That's why I say I should be able to read it, and I can almost pitch the company to myself because there is enough information for me to go like, oh, I clear problem
Right.
statement. Like, and let me add to this. You did that market, go to market. I almost should already know that. Like, you don't almost need that slide because you're like, we're going after retail people. There's 9 million of these. Like, I already know that. I don't really need the strategy because it's B2B. Like, we all just know what, like, you're going to have your secret sauce anyways. I will caveat there. This robo podcast thing, I'm super fascinated by. I don't want to take the time here, but like, there's some ways of getting that information out there without you having to do extra work. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Got it. Got it.
Very cool.
Thanks.
So one last thing I wanted to mention, Satin, I don't know if it's because I'm a forecaster and I focus on this like all the time. Maybe that's why, but I see so often that founders leave out kind of that revenue projection. And I'm always looking for that. I mean, I'm going, okay, so when you told me, I mean, I am diving into we're going to hit our revenue target of 250,000 or whatever. But when you said that, I was also wondering, okay, so how much revenue do they actually have today? Is it they've got $5 and then they're thinking that this quarter they're gonna get 250,000. I wanted to see, where have you been, over the last 4 months, what kind of traction's growing and where it's going, end of year. And then I want to see, what are you thinking next year? And what are you thinking the year after that? And what's going to get you there? And that wasn't addressed really at all. And so I'm kind of missing that piece of, of where's this thing taking me over and how fast, right?
Yeah, that I should have included it. I hid the slide on the deck. I do have it, but I hid it. And so, but quick question for you there on regards to that, because it led you to ask me that question,
Good
and I
point.
don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because it led you to ask me the question after the presentation. And so, what would you say on having that financial projections on, like a 3, 5, 10, 20 minute pitch? Like,
Yeah, and I mean the point you did go over. You went over about 2 or 3 minutes. So
oh, okay,
um, so you do have to kind of be picky and choosy on what
got
you
it.
include. But the thing that part of it depends on where you're at. So if your numbers are going to be really good and you're anticipating this question coming, it's like, hey, so give us your revenue, and you bring up that slide and it's like, hey, this is what we're going to do and how we're going to crush it. If I ask and go, well, what's your revenue like last month? You're like, well, it was 0. Then that's probably, I probably want to know that
Right,
before,
right.
I don't want to ask you and go, okay, yeah, these guys are pie in the sky. You're going to hit 250,000 in the next 3 months.
Gotcha.
I don't believe it
Yes.
now.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Is that helpful?
And I have that in my appendix to answer that question if they ever ask it. So, like, I
Okay.
have the appendix. Yeah.
Which you totally should. And you can give a high level overview. And I think it's actually good to get those questions going, but give enough to say,
Right.
one, we've got some traction. And I got the impression you did. I mean, you've got some pilots, but I still didn't know if you have any revenue traction. But I want to show that it has some traction. And I want to show that this is a big opportunity and that it's moving fast. So if you can demonstrate those 3 things and then have me ask those questions after to dive into, hey, let's take a deeper look and tell me how many customers are you thinking you're going to have, next year? Then we can dive into that, and then you're anticipating those
That
questions.
story is better. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I got for you.
Cool. Let me piggyback on that. What do you charge? We didn't know what your pricing model was. So what I highly recommend from a structure point of view, I think if we threw up 50 slides in any order, you could pitch it no matter what they were. So I think that you telling a story is really, really easy. But some things that even facilitate that are actually some structure. One, I'd like to get to know people from the beginning. Why are you guys going after this from the very beginning is really helpful in us kind of following that story. You guys did a great job, but like, why AI, why retail? You know what I mean? Like, you did a great job setting the stage from what's happening in the world. But we still didn't learn about you and your team until way, way later. In doing that, you talked about this retail component. But it was so limited in the way that you communicated about it, because you're really excited about what machine learning and AI can do. And I felt like that left out what was actually being solved for retailers other than pricing. Like, why can't a researcher pick pricing? Like, this is kind of a tangent, but I'm watching like things on TikTok where people are charging $800 for a belt. Like, how does your technology teach them to price that way? Super interested. Or are we talking about people who are, fixing margins or something like that? So I think there was something missing there from a problem discovery point of view. You clearly talked about the solution, but what I would love in that is how that relates back to retail, each solution component. because we've seen a lot of AI and machine learning type platforms, and they all sound relatively the same. But when you tie it back to that problem and solution, then it's really clear on why your consumers are buying it. And it's clear you have all these companies using it. So whatever you told them is something they're interested in. And I think it would be nice if we heard that. Then you can go into pricing. And by the way, it's $5,000 for an engagement. It's $500 a month, whatever the thing is. To Jeff's point, got to have a forecast in there no matter what it looks like. Even if you have pilots, what's beautiful is we know you're early. We're not expecting you guys to make $10 million last month. But what you can say is, and what on your bottom graph, you can do revenue, expenses, and a line that you could add is number of companies, right? And that is a beautiful line where you're like, look, we bring on a company every quarter, and we're like, cool, there's 5 of you on the team. I get that. When you hit Q2 of next year, you're going to ramp that up to 2 companies a month or whatever the sales cycle is going to be. And then we're like, oh, I get that. I'm on board, right? Right. So it's really clean and you're just very honest and upfront. And the beautiful thing about finances is everyone knows you're wrong. So you don't have to spend that much time on it, but it's very important to have it there because at the end of the day, it's a business.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. I like the way that you articulated the story there.
Yeah. So those 4 things I think need to happen right up front. Tell me about you. What's the problem, solution, and then how do you make money? You get those things out of the way, and then now we're talking business. The rest of the deck is really about, are you guys the team to execute? Some things that you kind of mentioned in here were, what have you done so far? You kind of threw that in a little bit throughout the deck. I think having this slide that's just totally about traction breaks my mind up into those sections.
Gotcha.
And then, like I said before, you throwing out the other opportunities at the end was beautiful. Trying to think of what other things. One thing that I think might help you with the beginning part, you kept using market data, this phrasing. And I'm wondering if you could rephrase that into something around the retail space. Because market data means a lot of different. And when any MBA comes and they're like, I'm in marketing, I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? Are you in digital? Are you in ads? Are you in, help me understand a little bit more about that. Your second slide that you talked about, like Statista and Google and all the companies, kind of helped me do that, but maybe a little sooner. I don't know. I'd have to see it again. This is one of those decks where, like, I want to see the next version and then the next version because the third version is going to be like, oh, I'm on it. Pricing. Oh, a question that wasn't answered, and this is one that I would recommend in a appendix, and you probably have it, is where are you getting your data sources from? I don't think you need it in the deck, but it is a question that anybody who does AI and machine learning stuff is going to ask. And then let me think I got to read my notes. So for example, there's just so much here. It's so good. I just want you to be so much better. You probably don't even need this advice, but
I do. It's very helpful.
Talk about, again, problems that people in marketing are having. For example, students aren't learning the newest technology, therefore no code is needed. Right? Like that gap between what's in school and a true data researcher is huge. No code applications, voice technology, all makes that. So you don't need to be a PhD in whatever, right? Like I think that those are those things that I feel we're missing, even though I understand them personally.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like it.
Anyway, I loved it actually. But those things will help clean it up. And a lot of what we do is also for the audience as well. So anyways, with that being said, that's all the feedback I got. Based off of what you heard today, Jeff, would you take this company to due diligence?
There's a couple things that I think would get me there. And one, I want to see that revenue, those revenue marks hit. You hit those, and you show me that you've got the traction, and I'm like, okay, this is legit, and you guys are getting some customers. It's probably worth another conversation. And I think you'd get through and would dive in a little bit deeper. Like I said, the deck could definitely use some work, and but I like, it pushes. You can see the power of having a good presenter and founder that you have some confidence in, and I think that goes a long way. So I'd probably say, hey, let's have another conversation.
I totally agree. I mean, I think the deck can always use work, but there are some things that are clearly could be done better. But like Jeff mentioned, charisma and believability are very important in the founder. And I mean, I've invested in some companies that probably shouldn't have, but the founder was so good that like he's gonna do something, and maybe it's not this thing, but you're betting on a person, right? And so I actually, like Jeff said, I think this is a company to watch over the next 3 months. And if you gave me some targets to hit and we went to due diligence, and even let's say we met next week, the conversation would be, show me the financials, let me see you hit those numbers. And I think that it could lead to an investment, but the due diligence would pull out those numbers anyways. So I think this would be a yes for me, actually, from a due diligence point of view. And I love the market. I think it's cool.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Agree.
Well, thank you so much, Sat, for presenting to us. If you guys are out there looking for help for pitch decks, please apply at PitchUs.io. Also, check out the book, the Pitch Deck book. It covers a lot of the things that we've talked about. And if you need help with your financials, like we're seeing a lot of people leave out for some reason, go to Forecaster. Great opportunity there to get something on paper. Even if we don't look at it, it's still very important for how you operate the business. So go check them out, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you.